Hi, my name is Ariel Mintz. I'm the president of Refuat Hanefesh. Welcome to this latest installment of our live chats. Today we're privileged to hear from Etan Neiman, Refuat Hanefesh's editor-in-chief. He comes to us with a unique perspective. He suffered from generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, and depression. And today he's going to discuss with us how mental illness has impacted his relationships and what he's learned from these experiences. If at any time you have questions for him, please make use of the sidebar on YouTube where you can post your questions and he will answer them. And you can also email administrator@refuathanefesh.com. We will have future live chats about once a month, and we'll notify you about those as they come. So please feel free to also subscribe to our YouTube channel and on the website so you can hear about these events. Etan?
All right, thank you so much, Ariel. I guess I'll pick up right where you left off about the mental illnesses and the symptoms. A little bit about me. Fortunately, I have made it to pretty solid ground in regards to managing and not being impacted too much by the illnesses. But I've been in the trenches with the worst of these illnesses and do still manage them. Those listening with the mental illness, I get you. I'm with you. We're in this together. I graduated summa cum laude from Yeshiva University's business program and currently work in accounting at Brand Sunshine. It's a mid-sized firm in downtown Manhattan. Regarding some work I've done with mental illness, I spoke extensively about my journey, experiences, and overall mental health message at a Yeshiva University event called Stomp Out the Stigma. Everyone wants to check that out. There's a video of that speech on YouTube. You could check that out later. Additionally, I've written several articles on mental health, sometimes drawing from my experiences, some actually for Refuat Hanefesh, and they can all be found online. I was the president of Active Minds at Yeshiva University, and as Ariel said, I currently serve as the editor-in-chief for Refuat Hanefesh. But that's way too much about me. With no further ado, let's get into today's topic. Mental illness is really tough. One area it is particularly tough in is where it might impact relationships with friends and family. Drawing on my experiences, I'm going to offer a little bit of some practical advice for navigating those, both from the perspective of the mentally ill and also from the perspective of the friends and family. So two themes I'm going to be hitting on, and I'll explain it as we go along. One, it's better to be too caring than too careful. And two, don't become consumed by anger. There was a friend of mine who did a pretty darn good job of being there for me to offer support, particularly in some earlier times of my life when I needed it most. Though, like the rest of us, he wasn't perfect. Oftentimes, he wasn't very good at responding in a timely fashion to messages. Those with the mental illness know that a delayed response to a text message brings on an avalanche of doubt. Did I say something wrong? Is he done with me? Did he even get the text message? Of course he got the message. Did he ever even care about me? As the course of events went, I would accuse this friend of not caring or not prioritizing being there for me. So sometimes I apologized for being accusatory. One time he responded when I apologized. It's okay. I know you didn't mean it. It was your mental illness. It was kind of awesome, particularly at that point in my life, to have someone be cognizant of some of the things I went through. But of course, the doubt, the anxiety, are all of my actions and beliefs, now subject to being disqualified due to mental illness. The thing is, this friend was awesome, but there are such simple and so easy ways to be there for someone that are foolproof. How are you? I'm here for you. Just listening and understanding them, getting them, messaging them out of the blue on a random Sunday. They go such a long way. If you want to get more advanced in what you say, like my well-meaning friend did, think for a second if you believe there can possibly be anything negative to it. If not, go for it. So do I feel today that my friend did anything at all wrong in saying that? No, I don't. There is not a doubt in me that he meant only well. After all, as I mentioned at the onset, better to be too caring than too careful. For those wanting to be there for someone with mental illness, it can be like a corn maze on steroids, wading through all of the do's and don'ts thrown at you. I keep it really basic. Coming from someone with mental illness, better to make sure you are there for someone than to give in to any sort of risk of saying something wrong and not being there for them. So if it's a matter of saying something which you are not sure is right with the intention of being there for somebody, or not saying anything at all, you know which one to choose. Here's an interesting question. Why is it so important to be there for someone with the mental illness? We hear so much of its importance, but why such an emphasis? When it comes to other serious illnesses like cancer, we don't have this level of an extreme push of being supportive. Mental illness is the only disease that society places blame on the person for. You should have been stronger. You shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. Or take a deep breath and you'll realize everything is going to be okay. Leaving aside how absurd it is to blame someone for developing an illness, people die from mental illness just like they die from any other organ disease. It's a real disease. When you ask people, how are you? How can I help? You are defeating the worst of the stigma, which is that people with mental illness aren't sick. Rather, they are inferior and weak. While everyone understands cancer is a real bad illness and will do what they can to support those with cancer, the same is not always done for the mentally ill. By giving support, you are enabling those with mental illness to feel it is okay to seek medical treatments like therapy and medication, because it is a disease being treated, not weakness. A friend being there for me certainly enabled me in accepting treatment. Better to be too caring than too careful. That was a little bit from the point of view of a friend of somebody with mental illness. Here's a little bit on the point of view from the mentally ill. It is important to have support in this. Mental illness is really tough, and from my experience, it cannot be handled successfully without support. Whether it's talking with somebody about practical measures to take, such as treatments, or having someone who is just listening. In a perfect world, support would find its way to you on its own, like it does with people navigating cancer or diabetes. Once people learned of your mental illness, they would be there in any way they can. However, it ain't a perfect world just yet. Sometimes you'll have to make do with the circumstances you're dealt. Better to seek support, reach out to a friend, and ask him to talk than not have any support at all. In the event where you find yourself needing to seek out support, I definitely would not advise turning to every friend as a potential source of support. In an ideal world, you want to have maybe a couple friends who are right there and understanding your mental illness, and the rest who are just simple old friends. Listen to this situation, though. There was a really great friend of mine who was very aware of the intricacies of my struggles with mental health and how they impacted my day-to-day. Sorry. I asked him, hey, I very often reach out to you and ask you to talk for support. Do you think you could check in with me sometimes? I think that would be of help to me. His response, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. I proceeded to continue pushing this issue for a long time. What I wish I would have done, thanked this friend for everything he's done up to that point, and moved on from having a mental illness support type of relationship with him. Not everyone is going to be able and willing to be there for support. It's the reality. Rather than pushing somebody to the detriment of the relationship, like I did, try to seek out someone else for support. If this is the perfect friend for the job, or maybe the only friend you think would be the right one to offer support, unfortunately, I'd say it's better to not have the support and not push the friend than to still not have the support anyway, but risk pushing the friends away. I'd like to, at this point, move to addressing some tips for situations that might arise between the mentally ill and family members. As always, from both points of view. Don't let anger consume you. Anger is in no way close to the path to happiness. I get it. Those battling mental illness often have every right to be angry at their circumstances or cards they've been dealt. And I couldn't really blame somebody for being just that. But I beg you to try and avoid being angry. It's just not productive. It's particularly not productive to show anger towards family members who you believe to have some sort of responsibility in bringing upon mental illness to you. For starters, yes, they maybe made mistakes which have impacted you really roughly. But 2 key points. They hopefully did more good than bad in your life, and hopefully their intentions were never to cause harm. If the intention of a family member was in fact to cause harm, that may be a different story. But assuming the intentions were pure, and maybe they just weren't present enough or didn't consider your feelings enough, then please try to focus on the good. Distancing yourself is an extreme and only a truly very last resort in very special cases. This is a real email I received a few months ago, word for word, except for a changed name. It was in regards to somebody potentially trying to set me up with a girl. I just spoke with Sarah. She heard really nice things about you and was interested. Her parents apparently heard that you take medication, and they felt that this wouldn't be a match for their daughter. So I guess that ends that. Sarah is a no-go. So this could have rightfully so made me angry. The stigma of the mentally ill being somehow inferior in action, and of all the recipients, myself. But the person at fault is really nowhere to be found in this email. The fault is the societal beliefs which have corrupted these people's minds. So am I going to blame them? No. What good would it do? And it would be, after all, wasted and unhealthy energy. Yeah, it really sucked, but it was the reality. No amount of anger would help that. All anger would do towards having mental illness in general, the stigma, or having anger towards a family member, is reinforced to you that the situation of mental illness is one worthy of anger, and it would lessen your quality of life and inhibit the type of thinking necessary to manage mental illness. Been there, the anger doesn't work. To take it a step further, there may not be as much cause for anger as it seems at first glance. There are actually some good things which come out of having a mental illness. Battling the mental illness and the challenges they constantly present instills in one big-time resiliency and a hell of a work ethic. When I was sitting in the classrooms at Yeshiva University, hearing the students to my left, right, and all around complaining and panicking about a test scheduled with too short notice, I got to think, are you kidding me? This is an issue. I know what a challenge looks like, and this ain't it. While a poorly timed test may knock many down for the count, those of us which have had to battle mental illness, we handle adversity astoundingly well. Regarding the work ethic, well, I know that you, like me, will work the hard battle to manage and mitigate your mental illnesses to the point of the illness being pretty much a non-factor. It will be hard work, but you will achieve it. Nothing instills a work ethic like defeating a mental illness. Just a couple words regarding the point of view of a family member of somebody with mental illness. It's really simple to support a family member battling mental illness, yet it's so hard to do for many. Do your genuine best to understand what the illness and symptoms of your family member are, and just be there in whatever way you can for the mentally ill family member. That basically wraps up my thoughts on the matter. Ariel, I don't know if you have any questions or things you want me to expound upon. You think would be good too. What are your thoughts?
Etan, thank you so much for sharing all of that. One of the most difficult things must be having that conversation with your family members or friends and explaining to them what you're going through. What tips do you have on that?
Yeah, that's definitely a huge conversation. It's from the outset so key to come into the chat with a plan. Do everything you can to not be confrontational. It would put the family member on the defensive and divert attention from the important matters to discuss. Expectations are also key. Just not everyone is going to be able to understand or be supportive in the way you'd like or the way uh, ideally they should be. So come in with a clear plan of the things you want to say, and don't become sidetracked if the family member doesn't respond in the way you'd hope. Remember, support is not necessarily going to come from everybody. It should come from. It will one day when we defeat the stigma, but not for now.
Thank you, Etan. You know, a question we've received from many people in a similar situation to yourself when they're going on dates, a lot of people will urge them to only go out with other people with mental illness. Do you think that this is a wise piece of advice, or do you think that maybe people should go out with people that don't have mental illness, even if they themselves have mental illness?
Yeah, sure. So again, this is from my point of view. I've been on a few dates, probably with people with mental illness and without. Um, doesn't come up right off the bat, but what I'd say is let's do a little comparison. Somebody with um, diabetes, for example, would you recommend or anybody recommend that somebody with diabetes only go out with somebody else from diabetes? I don't think so. Uh, it's mental illness is really just an illness. It's not a cult. It's not a designation. It's not a religion. Like I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm probably only going to go out with people who are Jewish. But mental illness is, uh, yeah, it's not. Uh, it's just not. It's not that where you can only be compatible with somebody else with mental illness because again, as I've said, you're going to manage your mental illness, you're going to mitigate it, and it's going to become almost a non-factor in your life. So uh, everybody has their challenges and their struggles they go through. I'm sure someone's future spouse will, and they don't necessarily have to be the same as yours. And I guess there's two points of view what people are looking for in a spouse, right? Just generally, people are looking for somebody who's just like them. So maybe with that point of view, you want to go with somebody with mental illness, or also some people are looking for somebody who kind of balances them out. So according to that point of view, maybe somebody with mental illness wouldn't be the most logical fit.
Do you think there would be any more challenges in a marriage in either case, whether it's someone who doesn't have experience with mental illness with someone who does have mental illness, or if it's two people with mental illness, would that be more challenging in your opinion?
Yeah, it's just my opinion. I think it would be more challenging. Two people with mental illness, make that ultimately working out. Just because I, I think that two parties to a relationship both offer unique perspectives, unique strengths, and unique downsides. So if both people maybe have similar strengths, like I spoke about, the resiliency, the extraordinary work ethic, which mental illness instills, but maybe similar weaknesses and things they have to battle. Um, I'm not sure that makes for the type of team which somebody wants. So hope that addressed it.
Yes, thank you. Moving to a slightly different topic, we got a question about your experience with therapy and if it's been beneficial for you.
Yeah, fair question, and slightly different topic. So again, I really encourage and almost demand that people check out the comprehensive video I posted at Yeshiva University. They had a huge event every year, Stomp Out the Stigma. I addressed that event a couple years ago. Videos on YouTube, and there might be a more comprehensive answer somewhere within that speech, but I could definitely speak to therapy right now. It was an important step to the treatment process. There's fundamentally, in my opinion, three parts to the treatment process. There's medication treatment, similar to you have to any illness, and then there's two unique treatments, which are more unique to mental illness. There is the therapy treatment, and then there's making cognizant alterations to your life approach. So the therapy treatment was very helpful to me, and it was actually kind of cool just to be able to sit there and have somebody literally just talk about me for 45 minutes to an hour. That doesn't happen too often. I don't know why my friends are sometimes interested in talking about things not being me. But therapy, it was all about me. Fun stuff. I'm a fan of myself. I think it's a fun topic, and and it was helpful in guiding me to making certain changes to my life approach. Not changes which are unnatural, but the opposite. I was thinking in an unnaturally negative way, for example, and the therapy helped me realize, at the least, if I'm going to think in an unnaturally negative way, then I should balance it out with something positive. Also, additionally, the therapy helped me work out specific situations which came out of my life and which would be tough, and come up with a plan of attack to approach them. Ideally, I would come up with a plan of attack maybe with friends or family members, but sometimes it's just easy to do so with the therapist, who is very skilled at that and comes from a unique perspective.
Okay, thank you. Etan, thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us. I imagine this will be quite helpful for a lot of people out there going through similar circumstances. I remind people that if they do have further questions for Etan, or they have any questions or comments about anything else, they could always email administrator@refuat.hanefesh.org. We also encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can be aware of further videos coming out, and also our newsletter so you are aware of different initiatives we're starting and what's going on with Hanefesh. Finally, we encourage you to get involved, donate if you'd like, and help us combat the stigma in our community, and provide support for those that are affected by it. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for future videos.
Yeah, I'll just add in quickly. Again, thank you so much for listening. Remember, it's better to be too caring than too careful, and don't become consumed by anger. If I can possibly elaborate more on anything I said or be of help in any way, you better reach out. And additionally, just by the way, if you happen to jump in the middle of this video, you'll be able to catch the whole thing later. It's going to be posted to YouTube, and there's also some similar live chats which you can also find on YouTube. But again, yeah, thank you so much, Ariel, for having me on the live chat.